I'm not being cranky. I just hate this party. Think I might as well spend a night in hell reading Torture magazine than pretending I'm one of you. They move wild and carefree, as hip can be. I think I should split, but wait a minute, I feel something in my knees. Is it music or new voodoo? Can I resist this? Am I off my head with shaking my hips? Can I resist this? It's the kind of beat I just can't dismiss. It's too early for me.
Yo, yo, yo. Yo, this volume, man. This freaking volume. What's up, guys? Alright, dude. AMC and GME up quite a bit. The kitty, man. The kitty doing the thing. All right, man. I'll let some of you guys come in here. We'll talk about this awesomeness. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. What's up, guys? Dude. All right, guys. It's crazy, man. If you guys are coming in from the Discord, you know what's up. We talked about this week basically being the final week in the POI range to see any kind of volatility, and it's crazy, right? That Kitty said something on Twitter, and obviously that made the price here on both AMC and GameStop go up. A lot can happen here, right? We'll kind of talk about the cycle and technicals, stuff like that, patterns, reference patterns. It's a little bit too early to tell whether this is going to stay in this range for the end of the day or continue its rally. But the good thing is volume, guys. Volume right now. Okay, when you see volume suppressed on both AMC and more on AMC, but also on GME, and then going here on the micro charts, then all of a sudden you have this massive volume candle. I mean, usually this is a good sign that we're going to see a continuation. I don't see why it would just stop here, unless this was like a massive fake out and then we have like an inverse, like say that we start crossing 5 or something and it starts crossing down. Then at that point, maybe this would be a fake out, but I'm liking the odds here for a continuation going back up. Yeah, we needed to keep pushing here. Got AMC on the left and GME on the right. Okay. Let me put AMC's price up too. Why is it not showing up? All right, let's put some alerts up right there. One right there. One right there. Turn around, Amy. Here's GME. You can see it went up way higher. And here's AMC. And prior to this, too, we had seen, at least AMC was kind of riding up here, was beating the markets. Volume was already coming in. So, yeah, it's very interesting to kind of see it all play out after as well. All right, GME back up. AMC still up 4%. There we go. There's the price. AMC. Cool. I mean, this is usually how it starts too, and you have these. So, you know, say this was like a small projector, right? Usually what happens, I mean, you don't want to just shoot straight up, because then it will be followed by like a pretty crazy dump. So if this is going to start finally climbing up, and you're tracking a you know, like a decent trajectory here, just take a parallel channel, right? Right now it's trading in the middle of that. So if as long as it keeps triggering this midline here on the way up, okay, that's all you need, really, for a a strong continuation. I'll show you guys some of the patterns we're tracking, and then I'll also pull up the cycle here for you guys, so you can kind of see why this was that last week. Like it was coming really close here for the POI to be inactive and just you know, a pretty neutral POI. But the fact that we're already seeing volatility kick in, this is pretty much all you need here for that. So I'll show you guys some of the patterns. So one short-term pattern we were tracking is this guy right here. And yeah, algorithms are going to slow down and speed up certain parts of the sequence, right? This is 1-to-1. So it's a pattern we found on Platzi, and it was calling for upside here on Monday earlier in the week. And you can see there's a gap. But, you know, if this is the algorithm slowing this portion out and we're tracking the levels here, I would agree with at least in the short term here, the 7 and then potentially the $9 range for a high average, not a wick high. A wick high can go way higher, just like we saw back in May. But yeah, short-term pattern we were tracking here. Some of the longer-term patterns that were also calling for some upside. So we had this guy right here. Yeah, I believe this is either Mara or GME. This might be GME. But same thing. You got that $7 to $8 average. This guy right here was calling for a POI basically today, and this is one of the things we went over yesterday on the Discord. You line up the POIs. Is a good correlation going on right here, even on the low. On the low part here of this reaccumulation cycle. But this checks out, climbs back down. All the levels are hitting, and then you have this sort of parabolic setup right here until it just pops, right? And again, calling for that $7 average in the short term, which, well, the odds are looking good now, right? I mean, look at that. AMC's turning around now. Nice big volume candle here. That's what we want. Let's go in on the micro here. There we go. All right, guys. Tramadol, Yankee. Comment, guys, if you are new to the channel or if you're just coming in to chill. Jay Pearson. Tickles, how you doing, man? Steven, Ellie, Joe, Kai, what's good? Derek, Timmy. Gotta fix this. Get that little parallel channel going on here. We got the fake out range way up here, trading right in the middle. So what we want to see is a continuation. You know what? Like this right here kind of reminds me of what Bitcoin just did. And by the way, for those that have been around, you know that we've been tracking the... This is the gold pattern on Bitcoin. We started tracking that in October of 2023, and so far it's been playing out. Crazy, crazy stuff. But look at this, right? Classic fake out right here. This entire section is what I want to track. Reaccumulation, descending M, call this descending M-shaped pattern. We've been seeing this a lot here recently with a bunch of stocks and cryptos on the micro and macro, man. This right here is a classic like fake out. Look at that. This right here is pretty much what I'm looking for. And for if we're taking the actual fib levels that we're tracking on the gold pattern, for me, I've already said this, but for Bitcoin, I'm looking for 275 next year, but it could go all the way up to 400 based on the gold pattern that we're tracking. But here is like a version of it. Depends on where we are in the algorithm here. If we are tracking this Bitcoin sequence, okay. As soon as we break out of this channel here on Bitcoin, we retested it. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 with a fake out, and then on that 5th one is where we break. All right, to the bottom, we have the same thing. We have a fake out right here. Fake out range, and then yeah, we start triggering this resistance trend line. As soon as we cross it, should have a continuation here on AMC. This is what I'm sort of predicting here the next few minutes. Yeah, crypto is dropping a little bit. I do see a pretty large dump coming to potentially the 80K range, but from there, I think that's going to be the low. And it's possible that right now we're experiencing a liquidity transfer on over to the stock market, you know, specifically with some of these other sectors, right? So with liquidity transfers, we have in this sector, rotation that we're tracking. I have, for example, AMC, GME in that basket, as well as some other stocks that have been beat. Yeah, because crypto has been pumping for a really long time now, so a small dump to 80K would be ideal, and then from there, see that final range to track, final fake out before it keeps going up the 200K, man. So 1, 2, looks like we already did the fake out, and then maybe by like 130, if we're trading up here at 570. Now, out of curiosity, I want to take that gold pattern because that is the one that we're tracking here for Bitcoin. My mic's low. Dude, I gotta get like turning. Let's see, how's that, man? Is that a little better? Let me know if that's better. All right, let's do crypto. All right, here's the break. I think we got it. 1, 2, 3. Maybe one more fake out, but if not, if the algorithm starts pushing here, then what's happening is that we have a sped up version, so it looks a little bit more like that. That could also be the case as soon as we start breaking here. But if we are tracking these levels, if it is tracking this sequence here, what we could see is a complete sequence of that gold pattern I'm tracking on Bitcoin. So, and we'll pull that up here. Here's the gold pattern I'm tracking on Bitcoin. This little guy down there. It's gonna be really hard to see. Yeah, it's a little bit hard to see what's going on here, and you know, using the high here on AMC and the low would put us right around there, which again gives us the same thing I was talking about, anywhere between that $7 and $8 range. Natural fibs, guys, right here. This is literally how I get the natural fibs. Craziest thing. All right, come back here. Here we go. Here's the break. Boom. All right, we got our first trigger at 535. Continuation up to 561 is my next target. See, you're like, bro, it's so crazy. You can't see this like on the minute chart. You can only see it on like the 5-second, or even, yeah, maybe the 15. Nah, 5 seconds a little bit better. Let's see, what's GME doing? Is GME also doing that? Yeah, GME is going, man, too. We got SoundCloud right here. GME, AMC, SoundCloud. So here it is, right? So we got the descending M-shaped pattern. That's what we call it. A break above, small reaccumulation, and then another POI. Now, if for whatever reason it flips here, because a lot of the times, guys, when we're tracking POIs, they do flip. So if it did flip, it doesn't mean that the sequence is done tracking. It just means that there's either a potential fake out, or now we're tracking a larger sequence. The algorithm might be slowing down in that area. But the good thing about all this is that we're tracking on the Discord. We've been tracking a few macro POI patterns already, and those were all calling for upside. So this is why, in my opinion, I think we are going to go up to at least the $7 range. And I gave a potential like price area I thought we would see if all checks out, all these POIs play out, and that was around that $8 to $9 range. Because AMC, man, when it goes fast. It doesn't stop. It's, one of the few stocks, along with GME, that just, 2-3 days and you're already up 100%. This is crazy. Make sure you guys are smashing that like, bro. If you're coming in, support the channel. Smash the like, share it with your family and friends. Subscribe if you haven't already. We go live, man, when AMC and GME do their thing. We rally around the family. Play that good music. Blades, I'll talk about that here in a second. What my long-term forecast is for AMC. So again here, when you cross resistance, we're seeing that here on AMC, all this liquidity, all this volume, say on both the gold pattern or Bitcoin here, they're going to look different. So it's possible that this entire section here is just sped up. It's this little guy right here. You can see it climbs back down. But as soon as you cross back down, it's not really something we saw on this sequence over here. Yeah, there is a possibility of if it does climb down again, you see an inverse POI. But a lot of the times, these guys are just slowing the algorithms, and then you see that continuation. You put some of these other indicators here. Spots, really good one. We got Plug here, Nikola, NVAX too. NVAX is another stock that typically goes up around the same time. GME and AMC. Matt was good. All right, here we go. V reversal. Look at this fake out, man, here on the markets. It had a few actually today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, dude, this thing is all over the place. Ooh. You know what I see already too? And you guys know what I'm talking about here on the Discord, because we talked about this yesterday, but this right here is also doing something I like, man. Watch. Let's do USDT. Literally saw this yesterday. So we call this the arc up. The arc up sequence, which is, here's your arc. AMC, this is the AMC sequence, guys. It's the arc, trades sideways right here. You really don't see it come, you know, all the way down to 5. This would be 505. This would be kind of like a trigger price to see another, like, accumulation period where it just trades sideways, or it turns bearish, right? You wouldn't want that. But a lot of the times you see it trade and trigger this upper range just back and forth. It's just choppy. And then here, instead of doing an arc, like the AMC arc, where it falls down, this is your POI. You see it go up. And we call that the arc up. And prime example of that here with Ordi is a version of that. So right here's your POI, and then it trades sideways. Here's your arc, and then boom, starts climbing up. I wish I could pull up more. We know Mara is doing this currently. That's why we talked about it yesterday. Mara, we've been tracking for a while now. The blast and go to 40. Here it is on Mara. And it looks a lot more like AMC's right now. So we're waiting for it to cross back up and do the same thing, arc up. Especially, man, if Bitcoin starts climbing now, if we don't see that retest back at 80, it's possible that we would see it a lot sooner here on Mara as well. Dude, they're like the same. It's crazy that I'm about to use AMC for this. But these two are like the same right now. Yeah, same thing. So maybe 130 time we'll find out what's gonna happen here. And the cool thing about this too is that for Mara, because we've been tracking one pattern here for a little bit. Got like 5 pages open. Why is it still loading? Okay, here's Mara. I'll pull this guy up too. So with that arc setup, that arc up setup that we're waiting for here, Here's the pattern that we're tracking, and it has the same thing. It has that one fake out right here where it just like it goes up to 40 and then it climbs all the way back down. So it's possible that, well, it's doing a version of that, and that's why, dude, I use all these patterns. Like, the more patterns you can use, the better. So it depends on where it is in the algorithm, but here's like a version of the arc a little bit. Right there. Still makes a parabolic setup. Takes a little bit of time, but it eventually does make its way up, and then it just keeps going, right? Doesn't stop. Ooh, there we go, there we go. Boom, boom, candle. Is it early on the arc up sequence? Is it early? Or is it just triggering it again? Nice. All right, so we still have the Bitcoin right here. Same thing, we were tracking this earlier. For those that are just coming in, descending channel breakout right here on GME. And then basically what we're seeing right now is a much slower sequence. Right, this little guy right here is like just a much slower sequence. First target would be 560 in the short term. And then after this, we track the gold sequence. We already have a target for that too. Based on that, kind of see. Well, I mean, dude, if you really stretch this guy out too, you're gonna be able to see it here. Here's the arc as well. Ooh, look at that right there. It's the arc continuation. 7 to 8. Oof. Oh, if it does this, that'd be absolutely crazy. And it's funny because a lot of these POIs, the ones that you see intraday and not, you know, in the after-hour session for a catalyst or something, they, for some reason, tend to happen later in the day, like from 1, starting at like 1, going to end of day. It's just a parabolic setup. No, I mean, for me, and I'll get back to that two-man blades. For me, I've said this on AMC multiple times already, but ultimately my long-term price target, and this is like a year, year of 2025, I would say, in about a year's time, potentially going, to the end of the year. With this sequence, I would put it somewhere to at least cross the $40 range, because this is where most of the liquidity lies. And if you take a look at the the macro chart, you basically have this massive. I don't know if it's not. Why is it not drawing? This like head and shoulders formation, right? So this would be the first target, but you can see this takes a long time, right, to develop. So we're looking at 5 years. And now I'm not giving it the same projection here. It could happen a lot. It could happen a lot quicker. You know, take a look at Carvana. It did it in 2 years. It went from $3 to where it's currently trading at, you know, 150 to 200. So these are all things that can definitely happen. But it started off at that 150 and now it's at 260. So yeah, from $3, man, $3 to 260. Absolutely crazy. V reversal. AMC's chart a little bit different. And then you would probably want to see some splits take place, not reverse splits. Reverse splits are not a good sign. But if anything, I would say once it does reach that $40 range, or maybe even starts climbing up, seeing a split to make the high here back to where it was before, that would be ideal. Yeah, you don't want to see large numbers like, you know, some stocks have their highs in the thousands and they're like small caps. Like, it's not a good look, man. Okay, so back at it again here with the R-Cup setup. It's looking real good. A few patterns we're tracking. This one here is Mara. Like I said, we're expecting a continuation here. So this is Mara currently on the daily. And this is the accumulation, last accumulation on the ARC up, right? So with AMC, we're on the intraday chart. And it's possible that this is that break, right? If it doesn't get rejected here, and if we start triggering 550, is going to be we're already triggering these option levels that are crucial. So this is where you get like a gamma effect here, which can turn pretty neat, right? This is a nice candle here, man. All right. Then we start tracking the gold here, and go. Where's the other one? Here we go. $560, man. Already AMC up a little 10%. All right, what's GME doing? Looks like GME just go down while AMC went up. AMC is holding really well. I mean, you guys can see this, right? Like, AMC is holding well on this parallel channel. We're taking the ROC here, overlaying all 200 stocks. GME is coming down, but AMC is holding well. No, it doesn't have to follow what GME is doing. Only on the macro charts is what we track, guys. For like a trajectory, we want to track what GME is doing, but not really on the micro as much. Here's GME. here we go. Pushing. So this entire section here is slowed down. Looking for, let me put these levels up here. This would be the first level, 560. Second level is going to be right up here. And the final level, if it follows this all the way, would be way up here. Let's go, man. This is looking real good. Nice candle. It just triggered the first option, 550. Yeah, dude, this volume is crazy, man. You look at the volume, you can see it a little bit better on the minute chart. I'm not on the minute, I'm on like the 5 second, because I really want to see what the algorithm is replicating here. It's a good way to do it. But if you go on the minute here, you can clearly see what happened, right? It was really dry, and then all of a sudden with this tweet, crazy amounts of volume starts coming in. Yeah, AAOI, GME. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, real quick. Indicators. We got a volume indicator here telling us volume times price, and perfect way to see these breakouts. All right, so look at that. Already, volume we haven't seen this high since, let's see. Look at that. We have not seen this much volume to the upside, man, since May 6th. I mean, all these large volume sections here are pretty much all bearish. So it's been a while, guys, since we saw this much volume on AMC, which is another thing to track. And just back to back, we have November, large amount of volume, and then today here. Still not stopping, up 12% already. Dude, telling you. All right, so we're coming up on our first trigger, 560, right around 560. So if there doesn't have to be consolidation in that, but if it does stop here for a little bit, that would be why. Tracking those natural fibs, the next level would be 6 for a stop. Oh man, this is good. Good stuff here. Gotta go back to the OG guys. Love this, dude. Love this, man. Man, the gold pattern here looks so good. God. Each time, man, on the 15-second here, respecting this blue curve. It's looking good. Good thing about this pattern is that on the arc up, this accumulation, final accumulation, we didn't break below. So you can see it on the levels indicator here. It's just riding that resistance, that fourth level. We call this the fourth level, and then oversold. We haven't seen a clear oversold range yet. Okay, since the beginning here. Saw it fully cross out, it came back down, gave us that support range, and then now it's just riding on the top two. Alright, so as long as it stays there, it should be, it should be pretty good. If it falls below, then again, you kind of go back to this whole thing here where we might take a few days to continue this rally rather than having a quick rally today, but we'll see. Man, 12% day on AME. see some questions. I mean, dude, honestly, man, with the algorithms, I don't really see it having to cross, a certain range or stay at a certain range. At the end of the day, the way that I treat it, or at least the way that I treat the AMC chart, is really following algorithmic structures that are put in place, because that has shown us time and time again that these sequences are traced and tracked on small and large time frames. So for me, it's not, what it's going to do at the end of the week, but I do have one of the things I had told everybody on Discord yesterday was that for this POI to be active in the range that we're tracking, and this macro POI we're tracking has a threshold of 100%. So if it doesn't do that here, this could be the lingering effect, right? But if this doesn't happen, within the next few days up to Tuesday, then it would be considered more of like a neutral POI. But again, with the levels and everything we've been talking about here, most of the patterns are calling for an average of 7, anywhere from 750 to 8, potentially a spike to 9. I mean, it could be insane. And the reason for that is, well, the last time it took 2 days for AMC to do that here. So even if you were to cut that in half, it's really not that much if you think about it. But yeah, man, anything could happen here. It's just going to give us more information here on what the algorithm is doing. Now, the crazy part, I will say, is that we have seen, and I had somebody post this on Twitter too. They were asking like if there was still a correlation with Ethereum Classic, and to that, right now, if there is a correlation, we actually have Ethereum Classic. Well, obviously it's ahead of the game, but it did stop tracking pretty much with everything right after that final POI we had in August of 2022, which was when, Ape came into the equation. And then, after that, everything that went down, we didn't really see any correlation, any tracking. So if the worlds are tracking again, it would be pretty insane, because yesterday we did see Ethereum Classic pump. And it was pumping quite a bit the last few days. I mean, the Ethereum Classic, the last few days went from 17 to 38. So it did 100x right here in a matter of a month, right? So yeah, that could definitely be the case, man. But we'll see. Back here at the 15, so good range of support. Good range of support. Probably wouldn't want it to come back to 540 or like fully cross 540. Means that it stays below that, because then we get into oversold territory, and then you get a little bit more theta, right? A little bit more of a theta crush here. When I say that, guys, or a theta channel, it just means that there's more consolidation, right? Because what happens with theta, any options expiring, at least in the short term, that's the way these guys are able to kind of crush not only volatility, but also theta, which makes the contract value go down, the premiums go down. Yeah, so would like for it to keep going here and trigger 556 again. And cross, man. That's what the gold sequence here is calling for. So we'll see. All right, we're looking good. Volume is still looking strong, too. Another little 5% push would be ideal. Would put us at resistance again on the changes indicator here. This thing follows support and resistance levels very well. So if it goes up another, well, it looks like maybe another 4%, would put us right here at 5, which is 4 to 5% would be 575, and then if it fully crosses and goes from here to this level of resistance, which is 7, would be 7%. Right there, 587. Do they usually have a continuation in the after-hour session? Sometimes. You happen seeing a lot more liquidity come in the after-hour session. They have, the 24-hour trading, stuff like that. But I wouldn't put too much significance, I guess, to it. Because really, well, at the end of the day, most of the volume is always going to come in during market hours. So there could be a lot of volatility in the after-hour session. It goes up, it goes down. Think of Mara, right? Yesterday, Bitcoin crossed 100K, and then Mara goes up like 10% in the after-hour session, and then basically opens neutral, right? And then goes down. So I think a lot of the times, we do see on both sides, but you would have to see a pretty crazy move. like, you know, probably over 25 or 50% for it to remain in that range. Okay, okay. Nice little candle here. More volume coming in. Let's see if it holds. It's crazy, man. On the hourly, we got ourselves a pretty decent candle here. Currently, it looks like this. This is the hourly candles right now. Guys, if you're coming in, make sure you smash that like, bro. Get your family and friends up in this and subscribe. Subscribe if you haven't, man. Things are looking real good here for AMC. The good thing about all this, man, is that it's giving us more clarity, at least, to, you know, the cycle theory and all that stuff that we've had and have been tracking, which has a high probability and high correlation. Always good stuff to track. You always got to stay skeptical, man, no matter what in the market. So I do like to say that because at the end of the day, that's, you know, nothing is 100%. But gotta like that probability for sure, that correlation that we have. And yeah, man, things are looking good for the bullish trajectory, man. I will talk about some of these patterns. I want to see where the price is going to go from here. And then once I get a better clarification of what we're going to be doing here for the rest of the day, I'll talk about the macro chart, so you guys can stick around for that too, because I do have quite a lot to say here with with what's going on. All right, so we got ourselves our candle, which should, there we go. Let's update it now. Maybe a quick little fake out just to fill in a wick or something. But, potentially I would love to see a continuation, maybe see a candle like this. That would be ideal. All right, let me see. Where is... Here's the gold. The gold sequence. And this is what it looked like. We're still respecting the levels that we're tracking here, which is great. 5:56. 2 minutes into 2. SPY is kind of just, I mean, it keeps triggering this lower range. Hasn't crossed yet. We'll see what happens here. Okay, let's see. So that looks like a little fake out. Hey man, appreciate you, bro. Wasted memories. Yeah, man, I do. I love. Look, and I'll say this real quick. The reason why I don't stream, like every day or something like that on, specifically talking about AMC. I love to go live when things are playing out as intended because we are tracking a POI. But if I go live, the days where it's trading sideways, I personally have like a rule where I don't like, playing AMC where it's trading outside of the POI range that we're tracking. Like that's like a pretty strict rule I have, and I treat it the same way with doing the streams and stuff. It's like it's more important to do and track the ranges, and I talk about this on the Twitter. I talk about this stuff on before we're tracking these POIs and everything on the Discord as well. But yeah, it's just a rule of mine, and it's a conservative rule, right? Because you don't want to be playing AMC all the time. It is one of those stocks that does unfortunately have these guys focus so much on this Theta, the Theta, bro. These guys love Theta crushing. And these sections, these large sections here, are all about that, man. Until you get to that POI range, all this is just premiums, and high option premiums basically go expire worthless, right? So these are the moments that I'm waiting for, right? Because they give us more clarity for one. So I think more posts, upcoming posts that I will be covering in the future is that if this POI plays out as we're intending it to, this is going to give us more clarity on what the cycle is doing, what it's following. So yeah, expect more videos with that, but I do treat AMC, based on what I've experienced before, my past experiences with this stock, is that you do kind of have to be a little conservative with the way you play it, man. Appreciate you guys all for coming in. Okay, so I will say this. So it is spending a little bit of time here, right? Even if it were to come down, I'll give you guys a potential fake out here scenario that I'm starting to kind of see already. I tell it how it is, man. It could go both ways, but if this is really, you don't want it to cross 540 in the short term, because most of the reference patterns we're tracking right now, they do have the same range, right? The 560 to 550 where it stopped and kind of trades sideways quickly. You can see it's already crossing down, right? It's possible that what this is going to do is create another... Where is that? Here we go. This right here. This is a descending M. And I kind of already... I saw it developing here, the little arc. Where it comes down, it stays on this channel, and then it breaks back up. It's possible it does something like this, because it did cross this range. Go back to the gold pattern, for example, right? This one here, if you take a look at the levels, the time it comes up, so it goes up to 560, the low in this range would have been, yeah, that 540 range. So it already crossed that, so it's likely it's not going to follow this through all the way. Unless you see like a fake out or something like that. So I do expect a theta channel here until the end of the day based on this drop. But that doesn't mean it's over, you know, for the coming days. I think that just right now, it's possible that it's just going to spend a little bit of time in this range developing something. It could also turn into a larger arc. So if this is the larger arc, basically what's happening now is that you're spending a lot of time here. And if you're spending time up here, if you're not crossing that 520, 525 range, if you're not crossing that and you're just spending time up here, then I would see a little bit of action maybe in the after hour session, or more sideways trading until tomorrow for another continuation. Now, with this, I will take the opportunity to talk about the macro chart, because, again, guys, it's likely we're going to be trading sideways here for a little bit. I'm going to keep these trigger prices so it notifies me if we cross lower. These are more like critical levels that you want to watch out for here in the short term. And now we could talk about why this is good for the macro. Wasted memory. Hey, man, for sure. If I'm doing that, I'm doing my job. I'm happy to do that. Okay, cool. Alright, so now, let's do this. Alright, so this is what we got going on here, guys. The reason why I was tracking, I haven't talked about this yet, been waiting for the right opportunity. But the reason why we are tracking a macro POI right now is because the old cycle, and I'll kind of be pretty brief with this. I've mentioned this many times over the last few years. Not the last few years, but really the last year ever since we had this massive fake out here in the cycle. So right now we're tracking 2 cycles, but I'm only focusing on the new cycle, which I'll talk about here in a second. It's this other guy overlaid here. This cycle right here, the theory, right, is that it gave up, or it reset when we had the split. And the reason for that, there's a few reasons. So reason number 1 is you can see it still experiences an inverse squeeze on the POI, okay? But after that, we had May, right? What happened in May here, which does not happen in the cycle, does not happen in the POI. And this is why I think it reset, because if you take the starting point from the first POI here before the split happened, before Ape merged back, then you do have these two tracking in the same window. And that's what we're currently tracking right now. We're tracking that cycle, not this one. Few reasons for that, guys. The option chain reset. And that's probably part of the reason why we didn't see anything else happen over here, because it also reset when we had ape kind of come in the equation, right? The option chain reset, you don't really see anything going on right here. None of the POIs are really working or tracking. They're just neutral. And that's what happens in distribution, really. Distribution following a lot of volatility is drying out. Volume is drying out. You're really suppressing the price as much as you can before rugging it pretty much, right? Which is what they did right here. They pumped it, they rugged it, and then they diluted the investor, the retail investor, which I didn't agree with, man. I didn't agree with what they did here, because when you do a reverse split, usually that's just not a good sign for a stock. So coming back to this new cycle here, which gives us a starting point from the inverse squeeze, right? This right here, this entire section. Okay, whoever the algorithm that shorted this entire move here, it's basically equivalent to a long position on AMC, right? So if you went in at 6 and then you exited at the peak at 77 or whatever, right? 1,000% short right here from what these guys did. So this is the new starting point. Now we have ourselves a cycle here. Now, that's the theory here on the new option chain that came in, because a lot of this has to do with options, the way options behave. Now you can see that this one here is outside the range, but the other theory that I have here is that this right here, it's a range. This is why I've been waiting for this POI, is because we don't have a clear correlation happening right now just yet. Right? If you take this cycle, we're going to copy everything here. Paste it on top. The cycle 13-day window from the green portion to the peak, that's going to be the 13-day window. The starting point could be right here. It could be where we experienced this massive pump and dump. That could have been the starting point of this cycle. And you can see right here, we're still in range. We're still in that 13-day window. And this is why I told everybody on the Discord yesterday that if we're going to see any volatility today, it's going to happen. It has to happen this week for us to get more clarity on how the cycle is running. And we saw this happen in 2 days, man. 2 days, AMC went up from 3 to 14. So if this does continue to go up here in the coming days, to that target that I talked about, that $9 range is going to be that threshold for this POI to be active, to work. Then, then we got ourselves another, well, a new cycle, right? But we also have ourselves a good correlation now to track. It's 2 for 2. And then things are a little bit easier to track on the next cycle. Let me just take all this stuff out now and pull up the reference patterns, bro, because, coming from that, now what's important is the reference patterns. These guys are what help us sort of back this cycle theory. All right, so with these reference patterns, we have a lot, man, a lot of reference patterns. Pull up a few. Here is one of the first ones. Been tracking this for a little bit. This is a 2-year sequence stock here, 1-to-1 pattern, and it's a prime example of how the algorithm distributes volume in a macro cycle. Macro cycle right here would be this entire section, right? Because we know, if the theory is true, that the cycle reset in July because of the split, we have a new option chain. That's a good enough reason. And pretty much we have ourselves a good low range that happened very quickly. So this is massive, massive volume, massive shorting going on here, which means that, well, the algorithm's going to have to cover that at some point. They're going to do it in sections. The good thing about this sequence, guys, is that it is the most accurate in terms of levels, okay? This right here, this is a dead cat, right? We have ourselves a cup that is not followed by a handle. It's just a redistribution phase followed by a declining phase. This played out. On this pattern, though, we do have what happened with May happens a lot earlier. It happens in January. But that doesn't matter because we're just tracking point A and we're tracking point B. Everything inside can happen in different stages. It can happen in different times. For AMC, it just happened to happen here in May. And then everything else can also happen in different at different times. So this is why I like what's going on right here, because if you see the next levels, right, we have 7 and then we have 12. If you take this entire section here, it actually puts us in a good range for the next POI that I'm tracking, which is it's a decent range. Now let me just make sure on the 4-hour here. There we go. Okay. And that is the next range really to track here, is going to be anywhere from February to June to see a continuation here. I think the next like major POI would be tracking in February, going into the middle of next year. Now what happens here, because this is still a very important volatility zone, the $7 to $9 range, guys, all this does for the current chart is gives us our first trigger, high and low, in the mid-range, which we haven't gotten yet. So look at most stocks. What they do is on the down here, you can see the same version with the stock that I just pulled up, but it will reaccumulate after the first POI, and then it'll go up to this mid-range. It'll reaccumulate again. You have another cycle where it reaccumulates, and then it goes up. It starts climbing up from there. So this is why, in the long term, I'm still very bullish on AMC. We did not cross below 4, guys. Like, I don't think we're going to see 4 again. And I hope that I'm right there, and we don't see, because at that point now we have ourselves another potential distribution, longer distribution phase would last a while. But things are looking good. They're looking bright here for the next year. I think 2025 is going to be finally AMC's year. And from there, I mean, you got reaccumulation. You got a massive projector pattern, for those that know what the projector is. Right there, boom, and then it starts climbing up. That's where you get your macro POI, end of sequence, based on this pattern. Right here, gives us the $40 to $50 range. So I do think this is possible. I don't see why other stocks can do this. AMC can't. I mean, AMC has been diluted like crazy, man, over the last few years, you know, with what the decisions that the administration has made. And obviously that is something that where, you know, fundamentally speaking, whatever ends up happening here, if there is a major catalyst that, whatever the catalyst is here that puts the trajectory here to be a bullish one on the macro, would have to be a pretty big one, because we're talking about a lot of liquidity here. But yeah, this is the bullish case, guys. This is just one sequence. We're tracking a few, and this one right here I think is one of the better ones to track. Again, look at how, like right here, this range, man, it hits that level like to a T, bro. Like to a T. Crazy stuff. Falls the same way. The timing here is close. I mean, all of this is looking good. And there are stocks that have been diluted before that still go up. I mean, this is not something that the only case, guys, where the chances would go down even more is if they do another reverse split. The more reverse splits you have on the chart, I mean, take a look at Xella or Mullen, like those stocks, they've had multiple reverse splits consistently diluting the investor as the stock goes down, 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 down. You get into the, the thousands and thousands of dollars at your all-time highs. It's unlikely that those would ever go back up. You need to see a stock, if it has one reverse split, that's fine. And right now, AMC is trading in a good range, 530. The high is still, it's 390, so it's not bad. Again, compare this to a stock like Carvana. Carvana has the highs in the $400 range, right? 3 something. It went down to 3. AMC went down to 30, right around that range. So very similar correlation there. And then now Carvana is trading back in the $200 range, 260, right? So other stocks have done this, man. It's not something that can't happen again. And yeah, for those that say, yeah, they're different stocks, different sectors, yeah, that's true. But, at the end of the day, a lot of these stocks are going to be used for liquidity. So regardless of the fundamentals, we're not talking about like big blue chip stocks either. We're talking about stocks that very recently were considered small cap stocks, right? So, yeah, man, that's what I got. I do see a nice continuation here. This looks like a perfect little projector in the making. We got the M. We call this the mighty M, bro. This is the mighty M right here that we're looking for. Perfect projector, hovering projector. And yeah, my target still holds, man. Anywhere from 8 to 9. If I'm a month late, man, and we start to see this a little bit earlier in January, that could also be the case. Give us a little bit more clarity there too. But I think in the short term, in about a month's time, I wouldn't see, why we can't get there. All right, let's take a look at the micro real quick. See, my little parallel channel is coming true. Oh, it is. I had something like this. All right, low parallel channel. So it did fall below a little bit more than that. Let's see where this third retest line is. It's way down here. Don't want it to come all the way down here. It is a short-term pattern, but if it does trigger this level here, it is a third retest, which the closer you get to the third retest, guys, the more likely it is to cross it and potentially fake out. If it does do that, what I would see is accumulation down here and then, climbing back up, right, doing something like this. That right there would be the next little setup here for Amy, which all happens really in a matter of a day. So it's not that bad. But obviously you have a pretty big fake out there. Let me see if I can pull up a version of this pattern. I think Mara has one. Right here. So yeah, see, the more it crosses, you have your first, and this is just better for the macro chart, guys. The more it remains on a steady trajectory, the longer it remains on a steady trajectory, and it starts creating these higher lows that are a little bit more spaced out. I think that's the better case for a bigger push. I mean, yeah, because you go back to May and AMC pumped in 2 days, right? And then it fell all the way back down very quickly. So it is in a way healthier to do something like this. thinking about? Was it Tesla? I'm trying to find this pattern. It was either Tesla or Netflix. Or neither. Tesla, Netflix. Which one is it, dude? I thought it was Mara, bro. I thought it was Mara. I think I was right. And then I just started tracking other stocks. Okay, here, I think here it is. Yeah, here it is. What am I doing? There we go. A little bit like that. Mine goes down a little bit more. But yeah, this would be like the other sort of scenario. And yeah, it rolls over basically to the end of the day tomorrow, fakes out. Because it is Thursday, man. A lot of these things, like the algorithm's just faking out, right? Back and forth. When the expiration day, for anybody that's doing like short-term contracts and stuff, they're gonna take advantage of that, obviously. So a lot of the times you see most stocks that pump in the beginning of the week, you will see a continuation, maybe 1 or 2 theta days in the middle of the week. But because it's just pumped today, it's likely that they're using this, this dump here to dry out some volatility, shake some hands out, and then bring it back up. Yeah, something like this. Algorithm could also be right here. Depends on where your starting point is. But I think, yeah, something like this. You have a nice projector. It's still holding a good range. This would be the trajectory right here. We're following the same levels. And then all it's doing, man, is just triggering that mid-range we talked about, which is 520. Yeah, that right there would be like the short-term setup. All right, what's going on here with the markets? So yeah, we have definitely a push going on here, an inverse, pretty big dump here going on with the markets. Let's see. Looks like the markets are about to do something. Something crazy. Jeez. This is insane. Looking at I'm looking for volatility right here to happen with the market, like in the short term a little bit. It could be crazy, man. With SPY. tell you guys why. It's easy. I mean, it's really easy to kind of see what's going on here with SPY, but I'll show you guys basically what's happening here. So yeah, AMC and GME essentially could be used for liquidity, you know, depending on what market we're talking about here. But a lot of the times, more liquidity for the big guys. And then this guy right here. This is what I want to talk about because we were using it today for this. But now take a look at, you know, the VIX, right? UVXY. And that is really the structure you're going to get here for what the markets are doing for like puts, right? Pretty much the inverse. Let me see if the VIX looks better. They look a little wonky still. Not so good. It might look good on SPY. There's more liquidity. Flip this guy. And this is like what I got. Now, no, I'm not using these levels by all means, guys. No, like I'm not tracking this to go down to 600. Sure, it can, but basically the only reason I would use this pattern is to point out some of the potential volatility zones on the, you know, on the intraday chart. This could be used for that. Kind of see that right there. Am I tripping? Do we have any like earnings, like crazy earnings? I don't think so. We just had earnings, man. Let's see. I mean, we do have like quite a bit of companies doing, but not, I mean, what, Lulu, Ulta, yeah, nothing like crazy. Yeah, and look at that. See, this is what I'm talking about. You line everything up, dude, and look at this massive, massive volume candle here, basically following this sequence here. Now, I wouldn't use this, rely on it because of the timeline. This pretty much, like the volatility that takes place here, happens on market close. So it's unlikely that we would see anything like this. I would more rely on these smaller POIs that are taking place in the sequence. But yeah, prime example of that. How I use these, man, intraday for some of these plays. Which, by the way, guys, if you want to check out the Discord again, I talk about all this stuff on there every day. I go live every day. There's a few, maybe a day, a week where we don't go live. We just kind of cover some things. Majority of the time, we'll talk about everything, all these plays and stuff, following this cycle approach. Really awesome stuff. So check it out if you haven't already. Click the link below. Yeah, that is that. I mean, we covered this, guys, too, on this being the stoppage, like a stopping point, and then this being basically a bounce range here on AMC. If it is, would see it them work a little bit more on this Theta, but things are looking bright, guys, for the long term. I think and also for the short term with the POI we talked about. If you haven't watched that already, rewind the video. Right in the middle, I talk about this cycle and my projections for the macro, man, for the macro. So check that out, guys. We will leave the stream here for today, and hopefully we see some things happening here tomorrow. As always, be skeptical, man. Do your own DD at the end of the day, man. It all comes down to that skeptical mind. Yeah, things are looking good. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next stream. Hope everybody had a nice little comeback here. Good to be back, chilling. And take care, y'all. Bye-bye.